A single failed mission. A single moment of betrayal left unanswered. That is all it would have taken to turn the boy who became Hokage into the most dangerous villain the ninja world ever feared. Today, we are exploring what happens if Naruto Uzumaki became a villain. This is pure speculation, but the dominoes that fall are darker than you think. Naruto's entire arc is built on one foundation: being hated by his village as a child, and choosing love and acceptance anyway. That choice is the emotional engine of the entire series. But choices have branching points. And there are very specific moments in this story where, had things gone only slightly differently, that engine could have run in the opposite direction entirely. This is theory and speculation from start to finish. Let's trace the path of a villain Naruto could have become. Turning point number 1. If the village never forgave him. The most obvious branching point sits in Naruto's childhood itself. Naruto grows up isolated, feared, and treated as a monster by most of the village simply for being the Nine-Tails Jinchuriki. What actually saves him from despair is a small number of people, Iruka especially, who choose to see him as a person rather than a weapon. Speculatively, remove that handful of people. If Iruka never extends real kindness to him, if Hiruzen never personally shields him, if literally every adult treats him with the same cold contempt as the village crowd, Naruto's psychology shifts in a very specific and dangerous direction. This is not a child who becomes coldly calculating like Sasuke. Naruto's personality is built on desperate need for connection. Denied that connection entirely, the most likely outcome is not quiet rage, but explosive, uncontrolled fury. A boy who eventually stops trying to earn acceptance and instead decides to make the village fear him on purpose, leaning into the monster label rather than fighting it. That version of Naruto does not need Orochimaru or Akatsuki to corrupt him. The villain already exists by the time he is 12. Turning point number 2. If Jiraiya died. Before reaching him, here is a darker and more specific branch point. Jiraiya is the first adult to genuinely invest time in training Naruto, believe in his potential beyond the Nine-Tails, and treat him like family rather than a burden or a weapon. Their bond is one of the emotional cores of the entire pre-Shippuden time-skip arc. Speculatively, imagine Jiraiya dies earlier, before that bond fully forms, perhaps during an earlier mission gone wrong rather than his actual death against pain. Naruto loses one of his only genuine father figures before truly absorbing what Jiraiya represents. This matters enormously for what comes next, because Jiraiya's death is also what eventually pushes Naruto toward Sage Mode training and a deeper understanding of the Nine-Tails through Killer Bee's example. Remove Jiraiya earlier, and Naruto likely enters the Pain Invasion arc without that foundation. A Naruto who loses Jiraiya too soon, without ever fully reconciling his relationship with the Nine-Tails power, is a Naruto far more vulnerable to losing control during a moment of extreme grief and rage, exactly the kind of moment Pain's invasion of the village creates. Turning point number 3. If the Nine-Tails had won that moment. This is the single most direct mechanical path to villain Naruto, and the story actually flirts with it directly. During the Pain Invasion arc, in the original timeline, Naruto comes devastatingly close to losing himself entirely to the Nine-Tails chakra after witnessing the devastation done to his village and, in his mind, the death of someone close to him. He transforms toward a four-tailed state that strips away his rational control. What saves him in canon is a combination of factors: his bond with the Nine-Tails not yet being fully resolved but enough goodwill existing, Yamato's sealing technique buying critical time, and ultimately Naruto's own will reasserting itself. Speculatively, remove any one of those safety nets. If Yamato is even slightly delayed, if Naruto's grief in that moment is even marginally less anchored by hope, the Nine-Tails fully takes over. A Naruto who loses himself completely to the Fox's chakra in that specific moment, with that level of rage and devastation already present, does not simply rampage briefly. He becomes a genuine, uncontrolled threat to everyone around him, friend and enemy alike. That single transformation, left unchecked, is the most direct route to a version of this story where Naruto becomes the very disaster the village always feared he would be. Turning point number 4. if he never forgave the village for Sasuke. And finally, the slower, more psychological path. Naruto spends years chasing Sasuke, refusing to give up on bringing him home, partly out of friendship and partly because he refuses to let the village simply discard someone the way it once discarded him. That parallel between his own childhood and Sasuke's path is core to his characterization. Speculatively, imagine the village's leadership treats Sasuke's eventual betrayal with the same cold, dismissive cruelty it once showed Naruto himself, fully writing him off, perhaps even ordering his execution without hesitation the moment opportunity arises. A Naruto who watches the village he fought so hard to be accepted by casually discard his best friend exactly the way it once discarded him, risks reopening every old wound about being seen as disposable. This is a slower burn than the Nine Tails losing control, but arguably more dangerous long-term. A Naruto who concludes that the village he saved will never truly change, and decides protecting people sometimes means protecting them from the village itself. That is not the explosive villain of Turning Point 3. That is a quieter, more devastating one. Someone who turns his strength against the very system he once dreamed of leading. Conclusion. So that is the path. A childhood with no kindness at all. A mentor lost too soon. One uncontrolled transformation. Or a village that never learns from its own mistakes with Sasuke. Any one of these alone could have been enough. None of this is confirmed by Kishimoto. The actual story carefully builds in exactly enough kindness, exactly enough support, at exactly the right moments to keep Naruto on his path toward becoming Hokage, instead of becoming the village's greatest nightmare. That balance is intentional, and it is part of why the story works as well as it does. But trace those dominoes just slightly differently, and the hero who saved the ninja world becomes the villain the ninja world always feared he secretly was. Call to action. Which turning point do you think was the most dangerous one? The childhood neglect, or the moment with the Nine Tails during Pain's invasion? Drop your answer in the comments. Subscribe for more anime what-if theories every day. I will see you in the next one.